here today with Kirsty MacColl, who's in town to promote her new CD on the IRS label, Titanic Days. Thanks a lot for having us up.
Thank you.
She's so gracious. I love it. I love it. Okay, let's dispense with the formalities, Kirsty, and please tell us about what it's like to finally be back on an American label, because I know there was this big to-do with Virgin.
Yeah, well, it's good to sort of get another go at it, really, and I'm having a good time with IRS so far, and they're working hard, and the record's getting played, and people are coming to the shows, so that's the main thing, you know.
Mm-hmm. Now, for anybody watching, you should notice that there was figurative drool coming through my lips throughout this interview, because I am crazy about this woman, crazy about her music, and crazy about what she stands for. To me, what you stand for is a woman with a sense of humor, making music that has substance, and putting the substance and sense of humor above image. Would you say that's fairly?
Well, yeah, I don't think that women are always terribly well represented in the reality as to actually how they are within, you know, say the arts or the radio, certainly. You know, I think there's a lot of songs that are sung by sort of major stars who don't write their own material, that present women always as the losers in love, and the women, you know, they can't live without their man and all this crap, you know, and it's just not true. And I don't know a lot of women like that, so I don't write about women like that, really. You know, the women that, if I do write about women in particular, then they don't tend to always be victims, you know. And but I don't really think that my songs are just aimed for women. I think that men identify a lot with them anyway. I think it's just a question about, you know, being true to yourself personally, and you know, the way you live your life. It's not just about being a man or a woman, you know.
Oh, definitely. And I think, in a way, I think that men can be more attracted to songs sung by a strong woman, because I think that a woman who is more satisfied with in herself and less attainable is therefore more attractive in some ways.
Well, I think just intelligent men are more attracted by intelligent women, generally.
You know, that leads us to something which you said in one of these interviews I read in Press Kit, Item 1. In this interview, you made a great point about how you just wanted to make intelligent music for, like, intelligent people. You didn't, like, care so much about, like, pop hits, as long as you could have an ongoing career.
Well, the thing is, you can't have an ongoing career without a few pop hits, you know. I mean, if you're making pop music, which is what I do, I mean, in England, pop is not a dirty word like it is here. It's considered very sort of lowbrow here. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't, just because you make a pop record doesn't mean the lyrics have to be banal. And you know, I'm just trying to make things that are interesting to me. I'm not, you know, I'm not going out of my way to make them different so that other people get something out of it. I mean, it's my life's work, and if it's not interesting, I should be doing something else. You know, I'd get a job in a bank or something. You know, it's like I've got to be excited about what I'm doing.
I think that's great. It's interesting because I've you know, in the past been to you know, a cognitive therapist, and, like, one of the points of cognitive therapy is that you're supposed to find your audience for what you want to do, rather than find out what the audience wants and then alter yourself to that.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'd make a very convincing bimbo, really.
Although you do look pretty interesting on that picture sleeve of the They Don't Know single.
Oh, but I was 19 then, yeah. I've put on a bit of weight since then.
Well, we're going to see the first video off of Titanic Days, and this is Kirsty MacColl with Can't Stop Killing You. And I did say that right?
You did.
Great. Dawn Eden back with Kirsty MacColl. You just saw her video, Can't Stop Killing You, off of her new CD, Titanic Days, out in the U.S. on IRS. Now, tell me, who directed that video?
That was directed by Tim Hunter, who's got a movie coming out about now, I think, called The Saint of Fort Washington, with Danny Glover and Matt Dillon in it.
As we tape this, I haven't seen the video yet, so I'm very curious as to what someone like you would do with the video medium. I mean, I don't picture you as, like, wearing, like, next to nothing in it and tons of makeup and that sort of thing.
Well, of course, I always do wear next to nothing. But, no, for this particular video, I mean, the song, to me, when I wrote it, it was a very cinematic piece. And the characters were very kind of, you know, like film characters to me. And it wasn't a particularly autobiographical song. So when we came to make the video, I wanted to sort of do it like I'd seen it in my head, you know, because it's like when you write the song, you've got the movie going in your head, and I couldn't see the point of making it completely different for a video when it was already sort of there, you know. So we got a couple of great actors in it, and I was really pleased with the performances they gave. I think it's quite funny in a way, and it's quite sort of frightening in a way as well. I think it's a sort of weird combination of scary and crazy, you know.
The song certainly has that feel. I think I read something where you said that it was about the fear of fear.
Well, I think, you know, people get, you know, if you keep going back into sort of abusive relationships and stuff, you know, people do have this terrible fear of being alone, basically. Everybody's scared of being alone. That's why people get married and everything else. But, you know, there comes a point where you have to say, okay, well, if this relationship's doing me in, I'm doing my head in all the time, then why do you keep going back to it, you know? And I think people have to take responsibility to a certain extent for themselves, you know, because you can't say, oh, it'll all be all right in the end, you know, if you don't do anything about it.
Right. Speaking of abuse, one of your songs made me think of a current case which is in the news, which will probably be old news by the time this airs, but have you heard about Lorena Bobbitt?
I have, yes.
Your song "Bad" about the carving knife.
Yeah, we shouldn't laugh really, but
I know, but we will.
But it was weird. No, I mean I'd already written this song a long time before I heard about this trial, you know. But you can imagine how it happens, really. I suppose.
Yeah, it's interesting because that gets right to the root of no pun intended. Hey, you're not supposed to laugh. You said gets right to the base of problems as far as. Okay, next subject. Next subject.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
Does this program go out in Austin?
Director behind
Does
the
it go out
camera?
in Austin? Well, I'd just like to say that I've heard this guy. I think he's from Austin, who's a musician who's made some fantastic records, and I've got a CD by him. His name's David Garza, and I think he's absolutely fantastic, and I'd like to record one of his songs.
David Garza. Now
David Garza, actually. I'm sorry, it's David Garza.
And that's G-A-Z-A.
G-A-R-Z-A.
Oh, Garza. Oh, yeah. I'll have to look him up.
Fantastic songwriter, really.
Tell me, do you own a turntable?
Yeah.
Because, you know, nowadays, in the United States at least, a lot of people think that turntables are dirty words like pop is, and like, oh, I've got everything technological now, you know.
Well, I mean, I own everything that you can play anything on.
That's great. That's great. And what do you listen to when you're home?
It varies a lot. I mean, I listen to all kinds of different music, you know, from all over the world and from all sort of like categories, I suppose, really. That's why I don't think I make one kind of music. I don't think my music really fits into any of the existing categories, because I do represent sort of a bit of country music or a bit of folk music and a bit of rock music and a bit of sort of, you know, punk, if you like. So it's hard to sort of, you know, I don't categorise things that much, but I listen to African music, I listen to classical music, I listen to everything, and some of my greatest moments I spent listening to records, really.
Now, I identify with you a lot as far as like being, like I said, you're being an intelligent woman with a sense of humor who puts substance over style. And what I'm wondering is, like, do you have a lot of female friends, or are most of your friends male?
No, I think it's about half and half, really, you know. I mean, you get different sort of kinds of support from, you know, your female friends to your male friends, I think, you know. And, but I don't really, you know, I don't sort of pick my friends according to their sexuality. I've got a lot of gay friends and a lot of straight friends, and, you know, I don't think, I've never chosen my friends on the basis of their religion or their sexuality or anything else, you know.
I didn't mean to imply that.
No, you didn't, but I just wanted to make it clear.
Thank you. I just mean also because you're in a man's field, and I was wondering, like, how long do you think it took you to feel comfortable as a woman songwriter, producer, singer in a man's field, or are you still...
Well, I never had a problem with the writing and the singing and everything else, and working with musicians. That was always like the easy part. The hard part is dealing with people in the business who are businessmen, who are just, you know, sexist to the core, and they're usually wearing suits, so you can spot them a mile off.
Right. It's true. Well, our time's run out, so I'd like to thank you once again for taking the time to be with us. I hope we'll be able to talk to you the next time you're in town, too.
Thank you.
Thanks. I've been with Kirsty MacColl, who has her new album, Titanic Days, and this is Dawn Eden for Videowave.